Do you wonder why Jesus was not recognized when he rose from the dead? Starting from Mary Magdalene, when she was outside the tomb, she thought he was the gardener. Why didn't she recognize Jesus? It's not like they hadn't seen each other for 20 years. It was really 3 days before. Again, on the road to Emmaus, the disciples didn't recognize Jesus. And again here, the people who spent all their time with Jesus, again, don't recognize Jesus. Well, it's because he had touched heaven. You see, when we touch heaven, everything about us changes. Our personality changes, our character changes, our appearance changes. And that's the nature of interacting with heaven. So many people, young people that I work with, and they have this conversion experience. They go out, they're living a life as they did in sin, and then all of a sudden they experience the love of God, and they go on retreat, and they experience God in a profound way, and they go back, and all of a sudden their friends are curious, wondering who this new person is, because all of a sudden they cannot walk the way that they used to walk. They cannot talk the way they used to talk, because all of a sudden they encounter the love of God that changed them so profoundly that to the world they are now unrecognizable. To the world they are now crazy. Now this is the way God works. When we touch heaven, we change earth. When we experience the love of God, we cannot be the same again. It's about being heavenly minded. If you experience the love of God so profoundly, you cannot live the same way that you did before. And this is what God wants from us as well, to touch heaven, to spend time in heaven through prayer, through spending time with the resurrected Christ, because that is the only way we're going to impact the world. That is the only way we're going to show the love of God to this world. And how did they recognize Jesus? How did they all of a sudden, heaven that had changed Jesus and this earth, how did things reconcile? Well, it reconciled in the source and summit of the encounter, and that is at the breaking of bread at the Eucharist. So this is the most powerful place. This is the most powerful place of encounter. This is the place where heaven and earth meet, the place where our worlds are changed. But it's also the world. You see, the breaking of bread, it's not about our encounter with Jesus, our change and how different we are. But it's about reaching to those who are not quite there yet as well, including ourselves. The Eucharist is the place where we break bread and give it to the poor. The Eucharist is the place where we meet those who are broken, those who are desolate, those who are hopeless, like Peter was. And all of a sudden they encounter the love of God and they're carried to a place of holiness. Approach the Eucharist. But you know that the Eucharist is changing you, that the Eucharist is working, in a sense, is if you have a burden for the poor, you have a burden for the broken, a burden to reach out to those who haven't quite experienced what you have experienced. Lord, I want to have a burden for the poor, but also, most of all, I want to be lost in your love, and so touched by your love that the world that I live in cannot be the same and will not be the same again.